All right, welcome back here live from Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. I am John Kurtz, and I am happy to be joined right now by BYU Athletic Director Tom Holmoe. Appreciate you making some time for me again.
Year two, John.
Yes, that's right, year two. Well, that's where I want to start. How do you evaluate year one in the Big 12? What was it like for you guys?
I think year one was a great learning experience. You're talking football. We were independent. You played 12 different teams every year.
Yeah.
You had a couple like Utah and a couple of teams that maybe were rivalry games, but you got to get back to this feeling of you're in a league and you play the same teams every year. Well, maybe not with 16 teams,
Yeah.
but you have a feel for the league and how it is and the timing and the travel and all the things, how you got to build your depth and what teams have certain strengths and how you recruit. And I think it was a great year of learning. We started out fast and then kind of fizzled. And we learned and made the changes, hopefully, that are necessary to turn about our chances in the second year.
Yeah, what are your expectations this year for Kalani and company?
They're high. I like them. I know that the media has picked us not to finish very close to the top, but expectations that are outside of your program shouldn't be listened to.
Yeah.
And I'm not even one that would put them as a chip on my shoulder. We are who we are. We know who we are. We know what we can accomplish. We've had a really, really good off season. So now it's just let the games begin.
Did you happen to hear Cam Rising's comments yesterday?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it. It's all good. I love it. He's
Okay.
a great quarterback and a super competitive player. And I've enjoyed watching him. And, we'll get our chance against him.
Yeah, well, it just adds some spice, and that's one of the things I love about this now, getting Utah in here. I mean, the Holy War, for people who have not experienced that rivalry, how would you sum it up?
I played in the game. I played at BYU from 78 to 82. So I played in 4 games, and I will say that we won all 4 of them.
Okay.
So I like to say that and get that out front. But it's a great rivalry. Their head coach, Kyle Whittingham, is one of my best friends. We came in together at BYU as freshmen, and his dad, Fred, was our defensive coordinator and was one of my favorite coaches and greatest coaches ever. So the connections in that rivalry are personal.
Yeah.
We're still great friends, Kyle and I, but it goes way beyond. It's deep, it's long, it's wide, and it's intense.
And what was a young Kyle Whittingham like back in the day?
Well, he was a middle linebacker and just a fun-loving guy, super humorous. And we still, to this day, have a lot of jokes back amongst us that are kind of private. But he was a really great player, played in the USFL, and was just a great teammate.
So I want to ask you about the basketball situation you found yourself in, because that is not easy, the timing when you lost Mark Pope, but you guys turned it around and made, I thought, one of the best hires of the basketball offseason with Kevin Young. Just take me through what that time period was like when you get the news about Mark into making the new hire.
Well, when we knew that Kentucky lost their coach, Mark Pope had played at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So people say, "Are you worried about Mark?" I said, "No, not yet. I think there's a couple of guys that they'll go ahead of him." And then the first one turned it down, and the second one turned it down, and the third one turned it down. And I basically knew at that time they're not going to get turned down again.
Yeah.
And Pope was someone that had played for him, was on the national championship team, a leader, and they were going to go for him. So I was in Daytona Beach with our cheer and dance team for the national championship, and I looked at my phone. It was Mitch Barnhart, the AD at Kentucky. He's a dear friend of mine, and he goes, "Tom, I think you know what this call's about." So that's how it turned out.
Yeah. Well, with Kevin though, what are kind of the things that attracted you to him, and you think will be great about
Kevin
him?
been on our list. We interviewed Kevin when we interviewed Mark and hired Mark, but Kevin hadn't been in college athletics, and had been a pro as a pro coach on a lower level. But he was just beginning at that time to have some experience in the G League. So in that period of time, where between we interviewed him the first time and the second time, he has some great experiences and made his way up the NBA ladder. So at the time, it was just perfect timing. It was just a matter of getting in fast and furious to keep him from getting a head job in the NBA.
Yeah.
So it was great timing for us.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, revenue sharing is something everyone's talking about now, obviously with the House settlement. I've heard a lot of ADs saying like, hey, we're going to hit that 20 to 22 million mark. We need to be competitive. Is that where you feel you guys will be at?
I think that every team, especially the power autonomy conferences, are saying that. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I think each team will have to go through that first year and maybe the second year and transition. I figure for BYU, we'll do our very best to get there. But I think everybody's looking at potential new revenue streams.
Right.
And you'll have to see how those go. They just don't appear. And last I saw, there's no money trees in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Although there's been some good little harvests from some NIL money.
There is some money going around, yeah.
Kansas State. But I just think that the Big 12 is super competitive. We have great relationships. Gene has been a great guy to be around. His experience and his is different. Has a different background, but he brings so much to the table. So Kansas State coming to Provo next year. It just is kind of the continuation in the early stages of a great relationship.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. The other sources you talk about, like one of them that has been mentioned, I know Brett talked a little bit about it yesterday, private equity, private capital. Do you have reservations about that, or kind of where do you sit as far as the discussions
I think
with that
the
go?
thing for me right now is it's such a new thought in the world of college athletics. You see it in pro sports around the world, but this is a time where when something dramatic happens like this House case and the settlement, you got to be careful not to react or overreact too fast and get yourself into something that you don't want. And I say that not just in terms of equity, but there's a lot of quick grabs out there for NIL. You saw a lot of people try things that didn't work. So I think our take is going to be get out of the blocks. You got to be out there and see what's going on. But try to move in a direction that's going to be best for us. I think so many of the schools, they look and see what other schools are doing. That's a good idea. Well, it might be a good idea for Ohio State or Notre Dame, but we're not Ohio State or Notre Dame. We're BYU, and we have got to do what's best for us. So we'll take a look, and obviously this is a decision that's going to go way beyond me to our president and board of trustees, and we're having discussions and trying to see what's going to be best. It's a conference-wide decision, and we're in the early stages of talks.
Well, I'll leave you with this: when it comes to where things are at right now with this, the revenue gap, the SEC, Big 10, and Big 12, and everybody else, it feels to me like the Big 12's attitude has kind of been like, hey, we're not going to back down. We're going to try and fight and do whatever we can. Do you feel like that's a pretty accurate representation of it right now?
When you say the Big 12 attitude, I think that's a Brett Yormark attitude. And I think that the ADs in the Big 12 are following that attitude. I think he's a great leader. He's a really great commissioner, and he brings to the table so many variables that other people have not taken a look at. So I think for us, and I won't name any, but you could probably notch off about 6 or 7 in a row, that people said, why would you do that? Why would they do that? Oh, that's interesting. And I think that it's well worth our time and our energy and our brain power to see the things that will work and the things that won't. Because just because it's a thought doesn't mean it's going to work. I think a lot of people don't realize we've passed on a number of things that never ever got to the media. But I'll do that any day of the week. I love ideation. I love the fact that you can come to ideas and throw things out. Because in college athletics today, you need to be, in the new frontier.
Yeah, well, and that's what Brett seems to excel at, right? Being the idea guy.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, really appreciate it. Thanks so much for making time for me, and looking forward to seeing you guys in the fall.
See you soon. Welcome to Provo.
All right.